Hi, I'm David Dennis.
And I'm Matthew Cleary, and we'd like to tell you about our brand new podcast called Hold Up.
Hold Up is a show where each week we take a look at a double feature of films that the general public has general fond feelings of nostalgia for. We rewatch them, review them, and see if they, hold up.
David and I have known each other for quite a while, and we both love movies. So Hold Up is a place where we can talk about all these classic films have to offer, good and bad.
Look for us wherever podcasts are found. You might find a few other guys named Hold Up. Ours is the one with the logo that looks like an exploding film strip, because we're awesome like that, though I'm sure those other guys are also awesome.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you at the movies.
Yum, yum. It's time for a tasty and refreshing snack.
You know who I can do without? I can do without the people in the video store.
Which ones?
All of them. They never rent quality flicks. They always pick the most intellectually devoid movie on the racks.
And now, on with the show.
Hey guys, what's going on? You are listening to ThisWeekInGeek.net's... Wait, this isn't Earth versus Soup. What the hell am I doing here? That's your cue, Aaron.
I don't know. What are we doing here tonight, Mike?
Oh my God!
We're talking about two different movies that are over a few decades apart, but are thematically linked. So we thought it might be a really good idea to do a crossover episode between Earth versus Soup and you.
Yeah, obviously here on Loose Cannon, we always talk about celebrating the B movies, the lesser achievements of Hollywood, but hey, in some people's minds, they are mighty milestones of pop culture, and some of them are awesome, like we have talked about before on the show, such as Dog Soldiers. We've talked about, all sorts of other cool things like Trancers. So when Aaron and Darlene pitched this idea to me, I'm thinking, all right, you know what? I've always wanted to see the Tim Burton movie from 1994 called Ed Wood, which is about director Ed Wood Jr. And it's based upon his life and him trying to come up through Hollywood and his infamous movie Plan 9 from Outer Space, which is widely to be considered one of the worst movies ever made. And I've got some opinions on this that actually may surprise a lot of our listeners out there, given my history with Tim Burton.
I'm willing to say that this Ed Wood is actually my favorite Tim Burton movie.
I'd say this is probably my second or third. My top one is Batman, then Beetlejuice, and then this.
Those are fair picks, honestly. But
my big issue with Tim Burton is and this is going to come to no surprise to longtime listeners of the show. Tim Burton wipes his ass on everything he does. It's all spooky and quirky and weird looking. It's basically, it's a Tim Burton picture just by looking at the art design, but that could be whoever he hires. But this one was Tim Burton whimsically subdued is how I would describe it. Like, it was still Tim Burton, but without being over the top obnoxious. And Johnny Depp was wonderful in this as Ed Wood. Like, that performance came alive.
Yeah, I agree. Now, Darlene, what do you think about this?
I think he needed to have something in his mouth to keep that ridiculous smile on his face.
Well, Johnny Depp, I don't know. I love him in this movie as Ed Wood. Yeah, because he has this relentless
enthusiasm.
I don't know. Optimism. It doesn't matter how awful of a movie he's making. It doesn't matter how bad the situation is. Everything's going to work out because he is making the best movie ever.
Yeah, like the thing that I liked about Ed Wood's story is he wants to do something. Like, he doesn't have the technical know-how or the real talent. He has just enough skill to get by, but he would be the very definition of fake it till you make it. And it works. Like, I don't sense much evil intent from a guy like this. I'm sure he did some shady shit at some point, but the fact that he wanted to make this and he wanted to do so much for his friend Bella Lugosi, who they became friends during the course of Bella's later life. I do find that endearing, and that's something I didn't expect out of this, to see such a friendship form. And Martin Landau, like, this movie has one of the best ensemble casts I've seen in a really long time.
Martin Landau as Bela Lugosi is fantastic. He is every scene that he is in.
Oh, yeah.
There is no doubt that Martin Landau is just, I don't know. I honestly think he should have gotten an Emmy for. Well,
I think he won something for this, or at least he was nominated.
Yeah, he should have had all the awards for this, because him as Bela Lugosi, you know, no one gives two shits about Bella. You know,
Boris Karloff is not fit to smell my shit.
Yeah.
I died when I heard that.
That limey cocksucker.
There was
great.
Yeah, like, that's the thing though. Like, with this script, it wasn't written by Tim Burton, just directed. There's a lot of really fast, rapid fire humor in here. And there's some, I wouldn't even call it controversial, because looking at this movie through the lens of the 1950s, because Ed Wood he likes to dress in women's clothing, and I don't know if there's a proper term for that now.
He's a cross-dresser, but
okay.
he's I wouldn't say that he is a transvestite or a drag queen, because he's not.
No,
Even though
he just
likes
likes
on a wig. He just feels more comfortable in women's clothing. Yeah, so I'm not exactly sure the exact PC term for that.
You just take Glenn and Glenda at that point, and that's how he defined himself.
Yeah, and I'm sure you've never actually watched Glenn or Glenda.
No,
Darwin and I have, and we have not reviewed it for Earth versus Soup, but we've watched it on our own, and it is pretty much a deep dive into Ed Wood's psyche.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a shocking movie in many regards, because it has, I mean, when was it made? It was made in the early 50s. I forget the exact year. But there's like a 10-minute long lesbian BDSM scene in it.
Oh, God.
Oh, dear.
I had to walk away.
It is amazing, because you're like, how did this ever even get filmed and released in any movie theater? And it did. That's the thing. And Bela Lugosi is fantastic in it. They kind of make fun of him in Ed Wood for being just kind of disconnected from what the movie is, and sure as hell in Glenn or Glenda he is disconnected from it. But whenever he's on the screen, you're like, oh my God, that's Bela Lugosi, and he like catches your eye, and he really does have a presence on screen. So,
and when you have that scene of they're in front of the clothing store with Ed Wood in drag. That is actually in Glenn and Glenda.
Yeah, a lot of those, they recreated some of the scenes for Glenn or Glenda or Bride of the Monster or Plan 9 from Outer Space fairly well for Ed Wood.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure that you noticed, since you did watch Plan 9 from Outer Space, that they did do that for that movie.
Mm-hmm.
There are more movies that Ed Wood did than just those three, obviously.
As long as you don't get to the later ones that are pornography.
Yeah, he kind of fell on even harder times later on and started doing some very strange avant-garde pornography. And we don't generally talk about that, but his sci-fi is stunning.
Stunningly stupid.
Okay, you say stunningly stupid, but we're talking about Ed Wood the movie right now.
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, like I said, I came in with this huge bias against Tim Burton because I'm thinking, oh fuck, it's going to be another ridiculous, ooh, look at my skeletons. And he cast Johnny Depp in everything. But this is, I think, just before Johnny Depp got a big kind of head about himself. And I liked his performance in this more than I thought I would. Like I said, there's that genuine enthusiasm and over the top warmth to him. Like I said, I don't feel like he's a jerk. Maybe a guy who will take advantage of a situation, but he's not going to leave you up bleeding to die on the side of the street. But if you got $10 in your pocket, he may take that.
But he'd ask you for it first.
Yeah, he would ask.
Yeah.
One of the other characters that I liked in this, and I did not expect the level of the performance from him, is George the Animal Steel.
Oh, yeah.
My God, Like,
as playing Tor Johnson.
yeah, like,
Oh yeah, dude.
Like literally an hour before this recording, I just finished Plan 9 from Outer Space, and I'm looking at George and I'm looking at Tor Johnson thinking, like, there's nobody else who could have physically done this.
No.
No.
Tor is a presence on screen in the actual movies that Ed Wood did. And Tor, I don't remember if offhand if Tor appeared in other films outside of Ed Wood movies, but he was in 3 Ed Wood movies. He was in Bride of the Monster, he was in Plan 9 from Outer Space, and then Night of the Ghouls.
And so was the guy that played
Kelton. Now, the guy that played Kelton in those 3 movies, he is in the movie Ed Wood, and he's one of the camera operators. He plays the cop that is in Plan 9 from Outer Space, like one of the cops that is always put upon. They even refer to him as Kelton in Plan 9 from Outer Space, but he's the only real linkage between all 3 movies, so it makes it an actual extended Ed Wood universe. But anyway, Tor is in all 3 of those movies. And yeah, they got the perfect actor to do it. Yeah, I don't know. He was great. Everyone was great in this. I think they brought their best.
I don't know if I really... Vampira, I didn't...
Okay, Vampira was played by the daughter of Martin Landau, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. That's the... I think her name is Juliet Landau, I think.
Yeah, Juliet Landau, yeah. She played Drusilla on Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
She's unrecognizable in this movie to Buffy. I was like, that's Drusilla?
Oh, no. Oh, I'm sorry. No, Drusilla, the woman who played Drusilla is the woman that was in Bride of the Monster. She was like strapped to the table. I apologize. I screwed that up. It's Lisa Marie as Vampira.
That's it, yeah. And that's Elvis Presley's daughter, right?
Yeah.
That's, wow. I
just didn't get the vibe of Vampira from her.
See, I did. She didn't give off the creepy, but she gave off the aloofness of Vampira very well. Like, especially in the Brown Derby scene when Ed Wood's like begging her. And she's just kind of this onyx and alabaster statue kind of standing there, just kind of sneering at him. Like, I'm sorry, I don't have time for you. And she's surrounded by sycophants and all that. That was a great scene.
Mm-hmm. And I only know about Vampira because I watched a documentary years ago. I wish I could remember where I saw it, but it's called American Scary, and they talk about the horror hosts and their history across Americana, starting with Vampira and then coming into the more modern day with Svengoolie, which evidently still airs in Chicago, which is pretty cool.
And I grew up with Svengoolie and Son of Svengoolie. And remember, Vampira became, the Vampira shtick was taken up by Elvira, and there was no love lost between Vampira and Elvira. There was even a lawsuit.
Which she lost.
Yeah.
Kellum was on the guy that played Kelton was in that one too, by the way.
What?
That documentary.
Oh yeah.
American Scary, yeah.
Yeah.
Which, if you folks can find a copy of it, it's really worth checking out. I didn't expect to learn as much as I did. It's tremendously fun. Some of the other people, I didn't expect to see the guy from Ferris Bueller.
Oh yeah, Jeffrey Jones as Criswell.
Yeah, that was fun.
He's actually he's very similar looking to Criswell.
Yeah.
Obviously Criswell's in Plan 9 from Outer Space, but he's also in Night of the Ghouls. So we see Criswell there.
Which that guy has become problematic, I will say, in the last couple of years. So moving on from him. Bill Murray got some wonderful lines in this.
Bill Murray is fantastic in this as Bunny.
There's one line one scene rather, and I always saw this from the advertisements, and I had for decades associated it with Martin Landau, but it wasn't. But when they're getting baptized in the pool, and the priest is like, "Do you vow to give up Satan and all his ilk and blah blah blah?" And Bill Murray's like, "Yeah, sure." It's the inflection of "sure" that not gonna lie, I do kind of steal that.
Yes, that was
there's a lot to love about this. Also, this is one of the rare movies where I don't hate Sarah Jessica Parker. And there's one line that I was surprised it made it in because it's funnier now, where she says something about having a horse face.
Yeah. That the reviewers for that first opening play that Ed Wood had written and directed, Dolores Fuller has a face like a horse. Yeah, do I have a face like a horse? And they're like, no.
Now, when I first I've seen very few Jessica Parker projects, and I came to the horse face image myself when I saw her in, wasn't Hocus Pocus, because I thought she was cute there, and she was cute in Flight of the Navigator.
Oh, sure, yeah.
But when I saw her in Sex in the City, the movie, because I got dragged to see that, let me tell you, that's a special kind of hell. I was like, who is this horse-faced motherfucker? And I'm sure someone's going to get mad at me for saying that. But
I think she did a good job in this. She
was great. Yeah. And that's the thing, though. Like, I think when you give Sarah Jessica Parker something to work with, I really think she can do some really fun stuff, because it shows the range of what she can do, from Hocus Pocus, where she's the clearly the stupid one, and to this, where she's just more authoritative. She's got her own journey she wants to go on to. I really liked her in this, and I didn't expect to once I saw her name pop up in the credits. So I'm glad my preconceptions about her were wrong.
And here's the go ahead.
I like when she does the whole sweater thing where he gives her the Glenn and Glinda.
Yeah.
And she comes out and
this is our life.
The whole scene there is just
it's fantastic.
Really intense.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I can't believe that you're going to put it on film. Is this some sort of sick therapy or something like that? I forget the exact line. But what I think actually showcases Sarah Jessica Parker's skill as an actress is actually the scene that she shares with Juliet Landau. And it's where they're filming Bride of the Monster, and they encounter each other as in that hallway.
Secretary.
Yeah, the secretary and the main character. And they're both acting like they can't act. And they're both acting like they can't act while being bitchy to each other.
Sniper.
Yeah, and it was fantastic because it's totally not them when they're outside of that. When they're outside of that, both the actresses are acting well as they're the people that they're supposed to be. But then in that scene, they're acting like bad actresses, being bitchy to each other. And it's the layers of it is fantastic.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot that I also didn't expect from this, because I expected, again, this is a Tim Burton movie. We're going to get Danny Elfman doing the music.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the composer for this was a guy called Howard Shore. And I'm pretty sure, Aaron, if you want to fact check that for me.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, there's theremins in the soundtrack. Which is freaking fantastic.
Which is really cool, because my next door neighbor has a theremin.
Oh,
that's so weird. And I really enjoyed this score, because it wasn't, came in with preconceptions that it was going to be another Danny Elfman inspired score. And I'm just a little sick of Danny Elfman. But here I got something, like I said, remarkably pleasant at the end of the day. Overall, Ed Wood, I genuinely enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I was going to. I went in, like I've just said, having some preconceptions about it. Yeah, and it's nice to be able to appreciate a new piece of media, and that's one of the greatest gifts I think I've gotten from Loose Cannon, is I'm being exposed to new types of pop culture that will only grow my arguably useless knowledge base, but it's always fun to enjoy something new, which is a good transition point into the next thing, which Ed Wood very much dealt with. And that was the movie from, what year was it? 1956?
I think it was filmed in 1957.
Okay.
It was first aired on March 15th, 1957, but then it was resent. That one was Grave Robbers from Outer Space. And then it was Plan 9 from Outer Space in July of 1959.
So
Okay.
yeah, it had some changing. It had some changing names.
Yes.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's Plan 9 from Outer Space, which is not Ed Wood's first movie by any means.
No, Glenn and
Glenn or Glenda
Glenda
was.
So why don't you two tell me the plot of Plan 9 of Outer Space? Because at times I was kind of lost.
Okay, so the plot is very strange. There actually is a plot, though.
Yes,
which,
there is.
Which is better than some of the films that we've seen. So it starts with a kind of a bizarre narration by Criswell, that he just kind of predicts things as he normally does. We have all we are all interested in the future because it is where we will spend the rest of our lives. That's some deep thinking there, Criswell. But basically, we go into the main plot where it's Bela Lugosi has a wife that has died. She is buried in the ground.
at a cemetery.
At a cemetery that is nearby some homes where some of our main characters actually live. Bela Lugosi, this is the last footage of Bela Lugosi shown. He died before the making of this film, and Ed Wood used footage that he already had when making this.
And a dentist.
And a dentist reprised his role by covering his face with one of his capes. So what happens is UFOs are effectively bringing the dead back to life. That is their Plan 9. Okay,
yes, that's Plan 9.
And they begin with bringing back Bela Lugosi's wife from the dead, who is Vampira, right? She kills 2 gravediggers, and then Lugosi, after this scene, Lugosi kind of either through suicide or just incompetence walks out into traffic and is also killed.
They don't show you how he died, but
he was hit by a car.
And
because there's
he
car
gets placed
screeching
in a mausoleum, and there's a conversation there about why he's not with his wife.
Yeah, it's some sort of family tradition that the men are buried in mausoleums, but the women are buried in the ground. I don't get that, but all right. Anyway.
And that house is Bela Lugosi's house that you see.
Yeah, in the film, they did film at Bela Lugosi's house, and that house actually still does exist.
Oh wow! Is it owned by anybody famous?
No, it's just in a LA suburb. You can actually look it up and go on Google Earth and on Google Street View and just drop your little dude there and actually see Bela Lugosi's old house. That's
pretty cool.
So we get some cops sent out to the cemetery, and one of them is Tor Johnson
as the inspector,
who can seemingly barely speak English. It's a very strange role for Tor Johnson to have because he wasn't a good speaker, but regardless.
That's why they killed him, right?
I know. That's why they killed him. We're reintroduced to Patrolman Kelton, who is also there because we love Kelton, and he is the reoccurring character.
Poor Kelton.
That's what we say through all these films, because by the third film, he has extreme PTSD. He is terrified of everything because he knows what exists out in the dark. It's actually an amazing reason to watch Night of the Ghouls, to see Kelton on the edge of completely losing his mind.
Breaking down.
Yeah.
Or already broke down.
Well, and he definitely is already cracked in the third movie. In this, he's barely holding on. So as the cops are out at the cemetery, we have a pilot that earlier had been buzzed by a UFO. Yeah.
And was told by the army to hush hush.
Yeah, to hush it all up. He admits of seeing the saucer to his wife, and then they get buzzed by another saucer by their house that lands in the cemetery.
Their
nearby.
house is right near that cemetery.
Yeah, it's right near the cemetery. We then go out to let's see here. We have another investigation still going on at the cemetery with the detective that has no gun safety because he's constantly scratching himself with his revolver. An armed revolver with his finger on the trigger.
He was trying to see if
Ed Wood would notice.
Would cut it.
And Ed Wood never noticed the fact that he was scratching his skull with a loaded revolver.
And pointing the gun at everyone.
Yeah, pointing the gun at his fellow officers and gesturing with it. saucers continue to be seen over many different areas of LA, including the ABC studios, the NBC studios, the CBS studios.
And then just DC at one time.
Yeah, and then DC. And we actually get a good use of stock footage, in our opinion, because on Earth versus Soup, we know almost every single one of the movies we watch has stock footage. It's whether the use of stock footage is good. And believe it or not, Ed Wood used fantastic stock footage because we actually get to see two different kinds of U.S. Katyusha launchers, rocket launchers.
One's a Jeep, and the other one is a half.
It's an M3 half-track Katyusha launcher, and I've never seen stock footage of that.
And I thought those were not called Katyushas.
They're not Katyushas, they're rocket artillery in the U.S., but the Soviets called them Katyushas. Oh, you're thinking about the Calliope, which is actually a tank. But regardless, guys, sorry.
When I was watching this, my friend Liam, who's former military, was actually commenting on exactly what you guys were saying. Like, oh, that's that vehicle. There's the Russian variant. That's an experimental vehicle. And there's some other stuff, as you mentioned about the American version. I'm thinking, that is really cool, and didn't know this stuff existed in the 50s.
Yeah, it was really good. We then flash up to orbit to like an alien starbase that is very suggestive of either Saturn or a breast on a platter. Plan 9 deals with the resurrection of the dead. That's where they're talked about. They are told to come back to Earth and start reanimating the dead. Bela Lugosi, we see Bela Lugosi in one of his original Dracula costumes.
Yes.
In previously filmed footage. We see Vampira, Tor, and Lugosi. They're brought back to the saucer.
And Eros, don't forget.
And basically, there's lots of going back and forth between the saucer, the cemetery, different army officials investigating what's going on.
What did you think of Eros's
medieval costume?
Yes!
See,
I was like, why the fuck is he dressed like a medieval guy? All right.
If you look, the one guy has a belt that is one too.
It's like a leather belt that has like, yeah. All right. Anyway, basically it all comes down to a confrontation inside the saucer between the army officials and this pilot versus Eros and the woman that was with him. I forget her name. I've seen this movie 100 times and I forget her name. It's crazy. Is it Tana?
I don't know, because she never says anything.
He basically, the point of the aliens wanting to destroy the Earth is because humans are dangerous, and we have continually developed explosives up until the fusion bomb, and now they're worried about humanity developing a new explosive called solarinite. Solarinite. And it's literally exploding particles of sunlight. And if humanity explodes particles of sunlight, it will go back to the sun and blow up the sun like a trail of gasoline. I think I'm misquoting the movie, but I'm pretty close. And then that light will go out exploding to all the other stars in the galaxy. And the humans are completely baffled by this. They're like, that's impossible. Obviously, humanity had never even thought about this type of explosive, and the aliens have now planted it in government officials' minds that this exists, so obviously somebody's going to start looking into it afterwards. There's a fight inside the saucer, and there's some equipment that is thrown that sets the saucer on fire. The saucer then burns and explodes over LA somewhere. The end. And then Criswell says something that is meaningless and pointless. Yeah. That's what I
And don't forget the paper plates as saucers.
Okay.
I couldn't believe that when I saw it, because I thought for years it wasn't real.
Great.
Those aren't paper plates.
What are they?
They may look like it, but they aren't. And I think maybe in Ed Wood, the movie, they used paper plates and stuff, but those are actual models of flying saucers that he just retooled. And believe it or not, you can order those models from Revell and build
amazing.
Your own Ed Wood Plan 9 from outer space flying saucer, and I have.
Did you watch the Blu-ray one where you actually somewhat see the strings?
Yes, that's how I saw this, and I always thought people were full of shit for saying that, and I'm like, oh my God, I can really see the string. Weird.
I mean, the strings are we see strings all the time in Earth versus Soup with our
Yes.
movies, but it's when they're clearly on the ends of fishing line and they're just wobbling around because they're not stabilized. It's just like one string holding it up, so they're just wobbling everywhere.
These are wobbling.
Well, no, I'm saying that this is kind of the extreme example of something on a fishing line.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy because I mean, if you watch War of the Worlds, the Martian tripods, well, the Martian saucers are on strings,
Yes.
and you can see them, but they are stable as a brick, right? Like they're not wobbling everywhere.
And this time I actually was, while watching it, I actually saw that there was a screen behind the three things, and you got to see that there's a tear in the screen.
Yeah.
At the very bottom.
Yeah.
So I was like, good going.
But did you notice the subtle use of 3 dimensions with the model shot of UFOs leaving the starbase? That they actually flew super close to the camera and out of focus because the camera was actually focused on the starbase. So it looked like the saucers were actually like flying out and then around in a weird orbit to leave.
And that
it
was
was a
probably an accident.
It might have been an accident, but it actually was like effective at showing some sort of distance rather than just a flat shot.
Yeah, but he doesn't. Ed would never took 2 shots of anything.
I know. I assume it has to be an accident, but it was a fortuitous accident. Let's put it that way. Because I think even though Ed Wood was fairly incompetent, sometimes he had actually really good ideas. He just rarely could get them on screen.
One of the things that I experienced while watching this is, like, it's known throughout its infamous history as the worst movie ever made. I didn't think it was that bad. I've actually seen worse pieces of shit.
Yeah. No, we completely agree on Earth versus Soup. We have clearly seen movies that are far worse than Plan 9 from Outer Space. Plan 9 from Outer Space is actually, I would say, fairly competent compared to like something like The Creeping Terror or Rocket Attack USA, both of which I absolutely despise. They're unwatchable pieces of garbage. Where Plan 9 is actually watchable. There is a plot. There are characters. There is an actual couple good actors in this. Like, yes, one is dead and it's stock footage, but even Vampira being all like cold and sneering through it, like being too good to be in this, but still needs a paycheck. She says nothing, and she's great because it's Vampira.
The thing that I think I liked about this is, as you just mentioned, the actors aren't bad. Like, and I wouldn't say like you're going to get any performances that will be remembered throughout history, with the exception of Vampira and Tor Johnson. I don't know. Like, I really expected, to go into this movie hating it. I expected to be, oh, it's terrible. Oh, it's unwatchable. I was entertained. I was lost, but I was entertained by everything that was happening. And I don't know. I think this movie gets a lot of unnecessary shit, if I had to say something.
Yeah, no, I agree. To me, in all honesty, when judging it against other 1950s and 60s B movies, I think it's actually pretty middle of the road. It's not bad. It's not great. It's not up there with the best, but it's not bad at all.
Yeah, like, this is one of the rare times I've actually seen a movie from the 50s, and this is going to sound weird. I've seen movies from the 1930s and 40s because I like some of the Universal horror movies, because I talked about that with James Rolfe, the angry video game nerd. By the way, check that, folks, where there's an episode we did, I think it was last year or the year before, with James talking the Universal movies. But I've seen stuff from those eras. I haven't seen a lot from the 50s in any genre. I'm pretty sure I've seen Forbidden Planet. And
that's a classic, yeah.
That's the one with Leslie Nielsen, right?
Yes.
Okay,
and that's one of Darlene and my favorites, right? Forbidden Planet.
What else was big from the 50s? I think I've seen parts of The Blob.
War of the Worlds.
I've never seen that. I've only seen clips.
War of the Worlds is arguably my favorite 1950s sci-fi movie.
Journey to the Center of the Earth. Them.
Time Machine, right? Time Machine's in the 1950s still.
Is that the one where they go back and there's weird monkeys?
No.
You're talking about Robot Monster.
No. Robot Monster's awful. But
yes, it's awful.
no, we're talking about where he goes into the future and there's Eloy and Morlocks.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of because it's based on like H.G. Wells' thing.
Yeah.
That I've seen, and I don't know why I've seen that because I'm pretty sure I saw that before I was 10.
Oh no, Time Machine's from 1960. So I mean, it's barely there, but we normally watch anything from the 1950s or 60s.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of cool experiencing these movies just because I've never seen them before, and I don't know. I've always again had this preconception that most of the stuff from that time is either amazing or stupid. Like there's very little in between. And seeing this, I was pleasantly surprised. I mean, I wouldn't mind watching more stuff from that era. Now, hopefully it's not this boring, but I would love to see War of the Worlds from the start. I'd like to see Time Machine with actual memories because I seem to remember a body on a floor they watched decompose and they did it via stop motion. Yeah, that scared the shit out of me when I was a child.
Yeah, that's a Morlock that the Traveler, well, it's Herbert, right? Herbert Wells, that's the character's name. He kills that Morlock, and he sets the time machine accidentally forward rather than backwards, and he watches it decompose in fast time. Yeah, no, Time Machine's fantastic. I always highly recommend War of the Worlds, because as I said, it's my favorite 1950s, 60s science fiction movie. I don't know if our review of War of the Worlds has come out yet on Earth vs. Soup, but we have done it. Monolith Monsters is another one that we've reviewed that we highly recommend. That's
the giant ants, right?
That's giant ants, and it's fantastic.
Day of the Triffids, but that's 63.
Yeah, Day of the Triffids is fantastic. But yeah, we kind of do all the stuff from the 50s and 60s.
I'm looking for where we did.
Darlene has our list out. She's like, I got to look at all these. Oh, the Tarantula movie was really good. Just Tarantula exclamation point.
Oh, there was something. Oh, I've seen Creature from the Black Lagoon. Was that in the 50s?
Yes, it was. There's actually 3 movies in that series, and we've recorded episodes on all 3 of them.
The Time Machine was number 40.
Yeah, episode 40. So that's definitely not out yet.
Yeah. So Alex is editing these things. Everybody. Yeah, there you go, folks. There's your own time machine into the future.
Yeah.
I guess as we begin to kind of wrap up the conversation, my thoughts on Plan 9 from Outer Space is I actually think it's worth checking out if you don't have to pay a whole lot for it. I would highly recommend Ed Wood, though. That movie is something special, and I didn't expect it, again, to be as good as it was. Wonderful performances all around, and it's probably my favorite Martin Landau movie, and like I said, it's in the top 3 of my Tim Burton things. When it comes to Plan 9 from Outer Space, I'm glad that I finally saw it and can say, hey, now I've seen this. Would I buy it? No. But I think after you see Ed Wood, I think people are probably likely to check it out. I think you do need to follow seeing Ed Wood first and then Plan 9. I don't see people going to buy Plan 9 and then Ed Wood. I think Ed Wood's a good appetizer for the main course.
Sure. I obviously saw Plan 9 from Outer Space before I saw Ed Wood because I grew up watching, 1950s and 60s science fiction movies on like WGN out of Chicago with Spenguli and things. But yeah, if you didn't grow up watching those kinds of movies, Ed Wood is obviously the gateway drug to this. And then if you're at all interested in the weird movies that they film before they get to Plan 9, like Glen or Glenda or Bride of the Monster, because they do talk about those and have extensive scenes about them in Ed Wood. There is a box set. And honest to God, Glen or Glenda is, to me, worth watching just because of how baffling it is and how it got made with the extreme content for the 1950s, at least. Like today, yeah, I could see that being made
Well-
and not being a big deal, but what?
Yeah, like that's the,
I was going to say it didn't appear very many places.
No,
either.
it didn't. It didn't get shown very many places. But honestly, you don't generally have a lesbian BDSM scene even today.
that isn't in a hardcore porno or something.
I mean, there's no nudity in it. Don't get me wrong. There isn't. They're in like leather and lingerie, but it's still kind of shocking, right? And then Bride of the Monster is amazing because it's Bela Lugosi like fully in the movie, and he's still Bela Lugosi. And Tor Johnson is just insane in it because he's never acted before, and he's just stumbling through the motions trying to figure out what the hell to do. And like you go to Plan 9, and then you get to the other movies after that, like The Night of the Ghouls, where it's the finale of the Kelton saga, where it's again they're talking about the after effects of what happened in Bride of the Monster, that there's this creepy old house that is now haunted, and it's where Bela Lugosi had these weird experiments, and Tor Johnson's character from that first movie comes back, and Kelton has completely lost his mind, and he's still a police officer, and everyone teases him for having extreme PTSD, and they think it's funny for some reason because this guy is terrified to the extent of almost pissing himself when going out into the night because he's seen some shit. The man has seen some shit. And if you've watched Bride of the Monster and Plan 9 from Outer Space, you know what he's seen, and you kind of empathize with him.
Yeah, if you ever deal with any games, if you do the Call of Cthulhu stuff, you have the
sanity roll.
The sanity roll. He's lost those sanity rolls.
Yeah, and he's verging on like completely going into the negatives. Like he's almost there. Kelton is at the point at the end of firing blindly into the darkness because he heard branches breaking. Like, the man should not have a gun. The man should not be a police officer. The man should actually be in heavy, heavy therapy. And they're still sending him out on patrol.
Into weird stuff.
Hey, Kelton, you have experience with ghosts and ghouls, don't you? And he's like, God damn it, I don't want to be sent out on this. Oh my God. Yeah. So Ed Wood movies, there is a continuity to them, which is weird. And
even
you don't
though
really
they're not continuity.
Even though there's no continuity, there's characters that appear in all of them, which is very strange for movies from this time. Like it barely ever happens. Like you can say there's one character really from Creature from the Black Lagoon that goes between two movies, and that's just barely. Anyway, sorry, we can babble about these movies forever.
But yeah, I mean, ultimately, I had a really fun time watching both of these. I'm looking forward to when you guys expose me to something else new in the future. This will not be our last crossover episode. I'm sure I'll probably do a couple more before the year is over. In fact, I'll throw one out there right now. Santa Claus versus the Martians, unless you guys have done it.
We haven't done it. Darlene's been avoiding it because she despises that movie, but I think that would be hilarious. Yeah, she's out here cringing right now because she's seen it like 2 or 3 times, and I think it's hilarious.
I saw it while I was remarkably drunk, so I remember nothing. So it'll be fresh eyes.
And there is an MST3K version of it, and that it's even funnier. That's the thing. Like, by itself, I've watched the regular version, and it's still hilarious. But put Joel and the robots in there, and it's holy crap.
Well, there you go, folks. There's a preview of one of our holiday specials coming up here on the site on ThisWeekInGeek.net. So once again, thank you for joining us here on Loose Cannon, where, like I said, we celebrate the B movie in all of its forms. Next time on the site, if the recordings go the way that I want them to, our future imperfect episode that should be coming out rather soon, we should be talking about the space program. We're going to talk about just things that are interesting in space, be them probes, planets, whatever, things that kind of get us excited about the final frontier, such as it may be. And then me and Aaron are going to take a trip down to Pee-wee's Playhouse, and we're going to talk about the Pee-wee character from the 1980s, and even the new Netflix movie that came out a couple of years ago with Joe Manganiello. So we're going to be talking about all that and more right here on ThisWeekInGeek.net. Hopefully you've enjoyed the summer of Aaron and I, and Darlene has been tagging along, so it's been a wonderful experience doing this with you two. Once again, thank you for coming on the Dog Soldier Show last week. It is appreciated.
No, thank you for having us. We're glad to be here, right?
Yep.
All right. Oh, sorry.
Good night.
All right, guys. So until next time, please pick up after yourselves. Be kind, rewind, and we'll catch you guys again next time right here on ThisWeekInGeek.net.
Are either one of these any good? Sir,
What?
are either one of these any good?
I don't watch movies.
Quick! Change the channel!
You're wasting your life making shit! Nobody cares! These movies are terrible!
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.